Hi, my name is Anne, and I'm 20 years old. You may have noticed that I am tall. Can you guess my height? 5'11", 6'1", 6'3". Wrong again. I'm 6 feet and 5 inches tall. Yes, close to 6'7". And I have no idea how I turned out like this, because my parents are almost 2 heads shorter than me. But then, the secret was revealed. Do you want to know it too? Watch my story, and you'll understand everything. I was taller than all of my classmates back in school already, but I never felt self-conscious about it. My parents always supported me and told me I was the most beautiful and slender girl. Yes, they loved me very much. When I graduated from high school, I was already 6'3". I got a lot of attention, and all the guys wanted to date me, even though I was taller than all of them. But none of them could win over my heart. The thing is, I was waiting for a guy who would fall in love with me and whom I would love back. And one day, a guy like that appeared in my life. I was on a dating website, chatting with different guys. But they were all boring, and things never went any further than that. Suddenly, I found someone special. His name was Timmy, and he immediately attracted my attention. We began texting, and I realized that we had a lot in common. It was interesting and easy with him. He liked me, too. We decided to exchange photos. I sent Timmy my photos, but I chose not to tell him how tall I was. Let it be a surprise, I thought. He also sent a picture of himself. In it, he was standing by a pool and holding a skate. I saw that Timmy was shorter than me, but how tall was he really? He hadn't written his height in his profile, so I decided to find that out myself. On the internet, I found the same skate as the one Timmy was holding in the photo, found out its length, and calculated how tall he was in skates. I was just having fun with it all because I don't actually care how tall a guy is if I'm really interested in him. And with the skate's help, I found out that Timmy was almost 2 feet shorter than me. I wondered if that would scare him off. A couple days later, Timmy suggested we meet. I was a little worried about his reaction when he saw me. I didn't even wear high heels, so I would add to his shock. However, once we met, I realized that I'd been wrong to worry. Timmy was looking at me with adoring eyes, and I realized that he liked me even more now. The date went well, and we agreed to go on another one. We started seeing each other more and more often, and after a while, became boyfriend and girlfriend. All in all, Timmy was truly the one I needed to be happy. He was smart, handsome, basically my soulmate. Yeah, he was 2 heads shorter than me, but that didn't stop us from being the perfect couple. And Timmy didn't have a problem with his height at all. When we kissed, he stood on a step. Many of my friends didn't understand my choice, but I didn't care. I was happy. Timmy and I had been dating for a long time, so I realized that we were serious, and I decided to finally introduce him to my parents. My dad and my mom were both excited about meeting my boyfriend too. So, one evening, Timmy and I came to my house. But then something unpleasant happened. When my parents saw my boyfriend, the smiles vanished from their faces. They were grim and irritable the whole evening. They were quite unfriendly to Timmy as well. And the worst part was that Timmy knew it. When he left, I threw a huge fit. How could they have treated the guy I chose like that? To which they replied that they didn't like my choice.
Why don't you just bring a dwarf?
My dad said to me. I felt indignant. I told him that Timmy was the same height as him, so I didn't know what he meant. To which my parents replied that I could only choose a tall guy so we would have tall children. As my mother put it, I shouldn't spoil the breed. What are they talking about? You come up to my shoulder yourselves. I felt hurt, and I went to my room. I spent all night crying. I was terribly upset for Timmy because I loved him so much. What were we supposed to do if my parents didn't accept him? And what's with all the talk about breed? What exactly were they on about? Was I a purebred horse to them? Then why weren't my parents like me at all? After all, a pony can't give birth to a long-legged horse. And my grandparents were short as well. Who was I taking after? I was flipping through an album with my relatives' photos, and nowhere did I find anyone taller than 5'5". Was I even from this family? In the morning, I had a crazy idea. I was going to do a DNA test to find out whose genes I had more of, my mom's or my dad's. Of course, it was just a funny idea, but I was curious. The next day, I met Timmy and I began to apologize to him for my parents. Timmy said it didn't matter to him because he loved me. I was so glad that he valued our relationship more than my parents' opinion. We went to a clinic to run a DNA test on my mother's hair, a piece of my father's nail, and my own saliva. We then had to wait for the results. But I wasn't worrying about it. Timmy and I kept spending our time together, swimming in the pool, going out to the gym, or just making out. And then, one day, I got a call from the clinic. They were asking me to come in for the results. They were ready. I thought this was strange. Why not just say the test results over the phone? But they asked me to come in person. I didn't understand why, but I still headed to the clinic. And you know what? I wish I hadn't. It would have been better to go on living in ignorance. Because in the clinic, they told me something that turned my life upside down. My mom and dad were not my birth parents. When I heard that, I couldn't believe it. It explained a lot, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. After all, my whole life, I thought they were my family by blood. In the evening, I threw another fit. I accused them of hiding the fact that I was adopted from me. But my father and mother both looked at me with eyes round from surprise and said that was impossible. My mother remembered perfectly well how she'd given birth to me and how she and my father brought me home from the hospital. And that was unexpected. So my parents didn't know either? What had happened then? My parents couldn't believe we weren't biological family. The next day, we all went to the hospital I was born in to find out the truth. They found all the documents and records, and everything finally became clear. It turned out that 20 years ago, another child was born there on the same day as me, and by a crazy accident, we got switched. An old nurse who worked there at the time said she remembered the woman who gave birth to me very well. She was extremely tall. Her husband was even taller, over 7 feet. And those were my birth parents. The news stunned both me and my parents. Although I no longer knew what to call them because it was clear now that they were complete strangers to me. We were silent for a long time and didn't know what to do next. Of course, my parents had raised me and given me everything, but I had to find my real mom and dad. But how could I do it? How would I find them? The next day, I met Timmy and told him everything. And the more I told him, the sadder he got. Why? What had happened? And then, Timmy said he wanted me to meet his parents. I had a terrible suspicion, but I pushed it out of my mind. When we got to Timmy's house, everything became clear. I couldn't believe my eyes. Timmy's parents were very tall, taller than Timmy by 2 heads. They saw me and smiled. It was obvious that they liked me immediately. I won't deny it. I liked them very much, too. I felt a connection between us. But they didn't know anything. They thought Timmy was their son by blood. All through the evening, as we sat at the table, Timmy was sad. So I didn't say anything to his parents. Not just yet. We were all having fun. We had a lot in common, and Timmy could feel it. When the evening was over, and Timmy and I were alone, I asked him if he had ever thought that he might be adopted. My boyfriend had said that he used to wonder why he hadn't grown tall like his father, but he eventually decided that it didn't matter and he shouldn't worry. I tried to convince Timmy that he was the child I had been switched with, but Timmy refused to believe it. I said that he couldn't deny the obvious, but Timmy refused to listen to me. So I asked him to do a DNA test, just like I had. The results would connect A to B, but Timmy shouted that he wouldn't do it. He didn't want to know the truth. He was fine as he was. He loved his parents and didn't want my mom and dad to be his real parents. And that is the whole story. We had that talk with Timmy 3 days ago. I haven't seen him since. He said he needed to think about everything. I have to decide what to do with my life as well. I could insist on a DNA test, tell everyone the truth and find my real parents, but I would lose my boyfriend. Or I could leave it as it is and keep my relationship with Timmy. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. Please, tell me your opinion in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because your opinion is very important to me.